Okay, my friends, if you don't know about the problem that we have had with taking care of the indigenous peoples, literally we destroyed their lives, we took their culture away from them, we herded them onto reservations, we beat them and told them to forget everything they ever knew. It was all nonsense, and they were the ones that were right. And now we want an accounting, and she does as well.
Generational pain exists very deep within so many of our relatives across what these lands are now called United States. This is our way of life.
It was their way of life, and they had stories and traditions and histories that we have destroyed, and today we are still doing it. Okay, my friends, what she wants is a full accounting, and I do too, which means that we have to discuss these ancient legends. Now listen to what she has to say.
Deb, you mentioned today that you're not going to stop advocating until there's a full accounting from the U.S. government. So what does that mean to you?
Well, it means that the records go back to the families.
See, what she's worried about is they had literally stole the kids to re-educate them into being Americans. So they had no idea of their past. We want to find out what the stories were, and we are demanding that now. She has every right to demand that. These are what we want to talk about, is the true stories of the Native Americans, legends of the America. This is the Thunderbird of the Native Americans. They call it the Thunderbird because when its wings flapped, it sounded like thunder. So can we present any evidence that a Thunderbird existed? Absolutely we can. There is the feathers of a gigantic bird, and I have a part of a feather here, and I will show you. And it appears to be, almost looks like a turkey feather. These are very, very big feathers. This is the top, I believe. It has that shiny looking surface to it. And this is the other side. The bottom has the more dull looking surface to it. And this is the thickness of the feather. This is a big feather. Now, Greg Morrison discovered this somewhere, I'm not sure exactly where on the East Coast. He's going to be coming up doing a road trip very shortly, well, I don't know shortly, but sometime this summer, coming up the East Coast and going to dig into all this stuff, because he found all kinds of stuff. And this, he sent me and some other things, but you will not get a full accounting until we account for these things. And right now, the exact same thing that happens to the indigenous people that own the Americas were put into boxes and tied to the walls. We are also the same way because of the top universities. They will not allow us to talk about this. There is no difference whatsoever, except they didn't chain us and beat us. No difference. They will destroy your life if you talk about this. I just had a kid, or a guy actually, saying his grandson just came home from school, and they told him, don't ever talk about giants again. There's no such thing. You just don't bring that up here. And the kids know about it now. I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos on this. They're not stupid. They're smart enough to understand they're being lied to at school. And the same people mentality are destroying the lives of all of us now. Not just the indigenous people, they're just going for anybody. The only way you can get ahead of now is to have some rich person give you money so that you can go pay them to tell you that you're educated because you're stupid. And you won't say the things that are real. If you won't say the things that are real, they'll give you a piece of paper, you can go earn money. If you say the things that are real, go out in the woods and live. Okay, I'm going to show you this a little better in a minute, but this is actually ribs from Hobamock, which is a sleeping giant in New Haven, Connecticut. All right, my friends, we're talking about Native American stories, culture, and histories. This is Sleeping Giant. It's in New Haven, Connecticut, right near Yale, New Haven, and you would think that Peabody would be interested in this. This is the body of Hobamak. These are the ribs right here. You see that? Those are the actual ribs coming out of his body. And they're hanging over. They can easily go and look at this. All right, there it is, Sleeping Giant. That's Hobamock. It's very well recorded. They poisoned him. That's his head. That was his chest, and down around in here somewhere is where that cavity is, and you can see the ribs, and that's what it is. Okay, I'm going to show you something that's pretty hard to deny. This is a sleeping giant. This is the sleeping giant's head. This is Hobamock. Now watch this. We're going to go up his chest. This is his chest going up here. And guess what you can see? His chest is decaying and his ribs are right here. These are ribs. Those are overhanging. That's a cavity that goes up in there. And the same thing here. This is Hobamock's chest. There's his head. There's his chest, the arm runs off this way, and it runs right down this way, down to his feet. This is well known. This is, and it's called sleeping giant. That's because it was, and it is, and it was killed by the Native American Indians because it was a ferocious, nasty creature that actually diverted the course of the Connecticut River. And this is right in my backyard almost. Well, like I said, I'm just a couple of blocks away from this thing, almost. This, you know, when I say that, I mean I'm like 15, 20 miles away, but I'm right in between that and the Connecticut River, which was the area where he used to frequent, apparently. And he would prey upon the villages of the Native Americans, and they hated him. And I guess they figured out a way to kill him. I believe they poisoned him. This was the fingernail of a giant I have here. And this is DNA tested. This is not just some rock. That is the little bumper pad on that fingertip. That's all it is a fingertip. That's a bumper pad. This is where the blood comes in to supply it. This is where the fingernail is. I broke this off to get blood because you can't get really blood on the surface of these. And the grip skin still had the fingernail on it, fingerprints on it. Where is it? Right here. Oh, I can never find anything when I'm looking. There it is. All right. Here it is. My finger is the same width as one fingerprint ridge like you have on your hand. Just look at how small yours are and think of one finger on each one of them. How it's like, I don't know, it's pretty wide. And this just pops right off because it's almost like it's Velcro, just like it looks here. This is an extremely dense, coarse, heavy duty, and it's got those sweat pores. That's what it is. And it was DNA tested. Dense, excellent quality DNA, because I went down inside and took it out of a blood supply. Fingers have just saturated with blood. See this? They're just saturated with blood. And they have that couple little spots right here, and then they have some on the side and up the sides. It comes up the artery and feeds all that stuff, and it comes back in the vein. Blood is no problem to get out of rocks. None. Absolute stroke of good luck. This just popped up. I grabbed the camera real quick. Listen to this. This is the issue that we face, my friends. This is why nobody should trust any of the educators anymore. Listen.
For our Rethinking College series.
Rethinking College.
On a recent evening, the pounding of drums signaled the start of an annual tradition at Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado. After a 2-year hiatus due to the pandemic, a sold-out crowd packed the stands to watch the powwow, which dates back to the 1960s. While the mood was celebratory, the night's theme was somber, remembering those who never made it home.
This is their tradition. This is their culture, and this is based on truth. Our traditions and cultures are just absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And the reason is because of our top universities. They now dictate your thought. If you won't agree to what they tell you our history was, they will destroy your life. We want a full accounting. We want to talk about our history. Okay, when I first started this stuff, I was right down the street from Yale, so I tried to take it there. They refused to see it. Still refused to this very day. Derek Briggs was the guy. He's supposed to be the big shot down there. Forget about that. And then I decided, well, I'll go to Harvard. Same thing there. David Reich, I believe, is the one I talked to. And that's the same deal. And this is their origins of life. They refuse to deal with the truth. Who should pay these people for this kind of denial of reality? And then they force you under threat of failure to say what they say. And then if you won't say what they say, and if you come up with evidence, they send their peer review people after you, and it's nothing but a bunch of bullies. And they stop anything that you say, and they won't allow it to be seen. We're living under just as much suppression as the Native Americans were. Now it's every one of us. They figured out a way to make you pay them to turn you into a slave to them.